We are out here with the new Beta 350RR. Absolutely gorgeous day here in the Pacific Northwest. Up in the timber at some pretty good elevation. Our snow, we still got snow off in the woods there, but snow is just starting to melt here in the upper elevations and able to get out to some of the good stuff in our high timber. As you can see, we got really nice chocolate cake, perfect traction conditions, beautiful Pacific Northwest woods, lots of amazing stuff today. Quite a few, actually, been through quite a few little snowfields, lots of trees down, so I've had to cross a ton of trees and done a little trail clearing. But overall, just an amazing day. Just thought I'd update kind of how this 350 is working out. I've been with betas for about 10 years. This is my 7th beta. This is the 3rd 4-stroke. I've had the 390, the 500, and this is the 350. This is the RR, and it is where I live. I'm able to get a plate, so this does have a plate. I'm not running it right now. And eventually I'll throw some very tiny turn signals on here, so it can be taken on road. I'm not a dual sporter. I don't ride on the road much, but there are some areas where we need to do transfer sections from trail onto road, onto other trail areas. So it's helpful to have it there. And where I live, I just have kind of just endless areas to explore. So having the plate and riding this on the road allows me access to some even more amazing stuff here where I live. So pretty blessed with that. But this 350 has been a blast. I really enjoy this motor. It is very, very fun motor. Today we were hitting quite a few pretty good rock gardens. We obviously had to stop several times, clear some logs, go over logs, go around. And so today was a real test of its ability to kind of lug. We had some big trees to get over, and well, I tell you what, this thing had no problems. It never flamed out, never stalled. Was able to hop over all the logs, get through some of the technical snowbanks. It never stalled. Just, this thing's a little tractor, yet so it'll lug, especially in second, third gear. You just kind of just let it do its thing. But when you give it the throttle, I love how it gets up into the revs quick. I really enjoy that part, especially for when we're flowing through this awesome single track. This bike really rewards, the motor really rewards you when you push the pace, which I really enjoy the 350 for this type of riding. Don't get me wrong, the 390 is a fantastic bike. I loved my 390. I rode it here, I rode it at Moab, I rode it kind of all over the place, and it's a tractor, a great motor. The long stroke motor is a fantastic woods motor. For my style, I really like this 350. It feels quite a bit lighter and more nimble. It's a lot less rotating mass, but the difference between that long stroke motor and this motor is where you really feel kind of how the engine braking and the weight affects handling. And so with 4-strokes, that's always big, right? Engine braking, inertia, rotating mass affect the handling of these 4-strokes. This 350, I always thought my 390 felt the most like a 300 2-stroke. I've had two Beta 300 and two Beta 300s and an X-Trainer. I always thought my 390 felt the most like a 300 2-stroke, but this 350 feels the most like it because of its still being nimble and lightweight. The 390 just feels a little heavier, and nothing wrong with that. It's a great bike. I probably wouldn't hesitate to buy another one, but the 350 just has that very fun, flickable, light, nimble feel, which I really am having a blast on. It's a far different bike than my 500. The 500's a big sweetheart, but not the bike you want to push the pace on through Pacific Northwest single track. It'll do it, but it's just a way different bike, handling bike. Yeah, so the motor, just spot on. I have had zero problems with starting, idling, flameouts, none of those issues. I do have, it was reflashed from my dealer. I am running a Scorpion aftermarket battery, 220 cold cranking amps. The battery is always kept on a tender that will never overcharge, but keeps it managed, and I've never had a problem. This bike starts, idles, runs spot on. No engine braking, no hanging idle, absolutely perfect linear power delivery all the way up through the revs. There's no, hesitation anywhere in the rev range, just spot on. Love, love, love it. Great, fantastic motor. So far, I've really enjoyed the new Sachs ZF suspension. I put in, before I even rode it, I put in proper springs for my weight with all my riding gear on, and played around with I rode it several times just in the, with the stock clickers in the factory settings, and it was really good. I made some adjustments, and I tell you what, this thing, so far, it has been really excellent. Today we hit some pretty significant rock gardens and pushed the pace through there. And boy, it just held its line, no problems. Just extremely balanced, comfortable, confidence. I can really push the pace. I just came off 5 years with the YZ250FX with KYB suspension. I've had KYBs and other bikes. I like KYBs. They're fantastic. I was, debating whether I should get the race edition, but I don't ride whoops. I don't ride braking bumps. I don't ride fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth gear flat out desert with square edges. I ride woods, and we're not super fast riders, but we like to push the pace. We have lots of rocks and roots, and this suspension has been fantastic so far. No complaints. I've made a few little clicker adjustments, and actually I've gone a little softer, and it's just soaking everything up, and I've had no problems with it. Diving, we're pushing the pace kind of in some of the single track in and out of corners. No problem with the front end diving, holds up. We'll get into a corner and there'll be a root or a rock, and forks don't dive. Again, very balanced, and I'm impressed. Over the years, I've had Sachs on all but 2 of my betas, and the older ones were not that great. In fact, I've had them all revalved and tuned, and this one doesn't need it. I'm really impressed with the new and improved Sachs suspension, so it's been great. This bike is a blast. 0 complaints. I haven't done a lot in terms of mods. I try to keep my bikes fairly stock. Over the years, I've run just about everything. I used to run flex bars. I ran steg pegs. I've run, all kinds of different guards and you name it. I've had it on my bikes. I've run tubeless. I've run moose. Trials tires, every type of gummy tire. This bike, aftermarket exhaust, my Beta 500's got every addition you could possibly add to it. It's got factory edition suspension on it. It's got full Leo Vents exhaust on it. It's awesome. But this bike's great. It doesn't need a whole lot. I run my preferred tires for the Pacific Northwest. The stock tires I hated. They're the stiffest sidewall tire I think I've ever had to deal with. When I pulled those off, I was like, holy mackerel, those are stiff, which are obviously not good for, Pacific Northwest single track. So got my preferred tires on here. I've been running ultra heavy duty tubes for decades, and I've never had a pinch flat. I set my tubes up from old Jay at Dirt Bike TV and never had a problem. Don't get flats. I like the adjustability. I can run my pressures lower or higher depending on our terrain and conditions, as opposed to Moose, which you're kind of stuck with, the feel and the PSI feel. And tubeless, I had one situation where I was left. We ride some remote areas and it failed on me. There was no patch. It wasn't leaking. It wasn't leaking from an area where you could patch. It was actually the inner tube had punctured. So, you're left stranded. Whereas with the tube, I can switch it out or I can patch it. So I've always run them, had good luck. I do run Fastway pegs. I've always run Fastway pegs. They're a little wider, they're durable, and I like them because they can camber. And I run mine cambered in towards the frame. I like to stand quite often, quite a bit actually. So this keeps my legs pinned against the frame, which allows me to stand and have better control over the bike. So Fastway pegs have always been on my bikes, always will be. I run the ODI grips. I have big hands. These are the Rogues. They are not the lock-ons. They're just comfortable for me. I've tried all kinds of different grips, and these ones work for me. I do run full wrap handguards, although as you can see, I have nylon in between the clamp and the bar, and I also have a nylon washer right here, and I do not run these banjo tight. And the reason is because your bars naturally flex when you run everything banjo tight up against the steel and aluminum, then you take away the natural flex of the bar. So I've kept these so they can still flex a little bit. These are just some Fastway shields that I already had. I do not run radiator guards or braces. I've never punctured a radiator in, I don't know, 3 or 4 decades of woods riding through tons of trees. I mean, this is where we ride. We do have a few trees. Never punctured a radiator. I like the louvers to give the best airflow. These stock radiators do have some small bracing in them built in, and for now, it'll be fine. Yeah, it's not like my bikes do touch the ground. I've dumped them, but I've never really damaged a radiator beyond repair. Let's see. That's about it, guys. Yeah, stock exhaust. Oh, rear disc guard. We do have a ton of rock gardens, so run the rear disc guard. But this bike is a blast to ride. Just built custom. It feels custom built for Pacific Northwest single track. So looking forward to a lot more time on this bike. Again, we just got out. Snow's just melted here in the Pacific Northwest in our upper elevation stuff. I think this is about the 10th, 12th ride I've got on this bike, and it's just every time I get it out, it's just rewarding. So awesome bike. So if you're looking at, I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything. I'm no YouTube guy. I'm not a expert. I'm just a weekend warrior guy who's been riding for a long time on a lot of betas. And so if you find any information helpful, cool. I'm not looking for any likes, subscribes, or clicks. I could care less about that. Just if, you find it helpful, cool. So yeah, we're going to get out and do a little more riding, and pretty awesome, amazing stuff. Beautiful Pacific Northwest day.